Hello and welcome to my cultural plunge. I decided to take a neutral position on the March 14th school walkout because that makes me very uncomfortable to be anti-revolutionary and reserved during a hot topic of today's political climate, which is gun violence in schools. I also chose this experience because I knew that further on down in the month, I would not be able to participate in the March for Our Lives march due to travel conflicts. The setting took place in Glendale, California at Hoover High School. The Hoover High School student body organized their own walkout to coincide with the walkouts nationwide to remember the 17 victims of the Marjory Stoneman Douglas massacre. With consent from school officials, the students gave speeches, released balloons, and walked out of class 1 minute per slain Parkland student. I chose this experience because I have no issue with typically out-of-the-box experiences, and I find them fun and enjoyable already. Rather than do something irreversible like get a tattoo or coordinate a bat mitzvah for myself, I went with something like this. What I was hoping to gain from this experience is a peek into what it feels like to not actively participate in something you feel very strongly about. I've never been one to shy away from controversial issues, and my mother and father raised me picketing alongside with them for janitorial rights. They always told me to express myself if I felt there was an injustice present and to do something about it. It would seem I have no shortage of prior knowledge regarding protesting, from picketing with my parents, participating in the Day Without Immigrants, to already being excited to advocate for the rights of individuals who are overworked and underpaid. Add into the equation that I am a woman and there has been plenty for me to fight my right about up to this point in my life. Therefore, my previous beliefs about people who do not participate in these protests is either they don't care, they don't know, or they don't support. I agonized over how the day's events were supposed to occur for the days leading up to the walkout. Asked my classmates what their thoughts were. Asked my mentor teacher what he thought about it all. I even got word that professors were suggesting for students to just sit on their hands and simply do nothing as to not rock the boat for a rookie. The guidelines at Hoover were as follows. The students would be marked with a Y absence letter signifying they were indeed in school but had left momentarily to join the walkout. If they didn't return, they would be having an unexcused absence. If they stayed in class the whole time, marked present like usual. Other than that, I was encouraged by my mentor to not really bring up the walkout in the days leading up to it so as to not pseudo-advertise for it. If I were not currently pursuing my credential, I would have felt how I usually feel when I'm about to do something rebellious, excited and ready to apologize. Prior to my plunge, as stated before, I asked around for different opinions. Overwhelmingly and unfortunately, based on the warnings I received from the majority of people, I came to the conclusion that the right thing to do would be nothing at all. So for one of the rare instances in my life, and for the purposes of this assignment, I was complicit. I walked into my plunge with additional stressors the universe happened to align for me. I had an observation by my university supervisor that day, my mentor teacher was on medical leave, and my lesson for the day involved students occupying 2 classrooms. I was unsure what to expect if there was going to be a trickling of students or a mass exodus. All but 3 students gathered their belongings and left to the walkout presentations. I played the To Kill a Mockingbird film for those who chose to stay behind. But while I was watching the film, I was filled with FOMO, aka fear of missing out, that was not letting my support be known. Except by the peace sign on the back of the cardigan I ended up wearing to school that day. Post-plunge, I heard mixed reviews about the walkout presentations. A student who went informed me that a heckler happened to be there, a suspicious adult male, might I add, just outside the school limits to shout about his right to bear arms during the student presentations they worked so hard for. I wish I could have been there to show my support, witness their hard work, and speak on the importance of rallying behind this current issue, because it is not just students who are worried, the teachers now have to act as body shields or bodyguards and are frightened as well. When my dad asked me about the walkout, I told him I stayed in the classroom. He exclaimed, "What? I was expecting you to be on the news. Univision." Clearly, staying out of the spotlight is something unusual for me. My students, who know my personality, were also surprised to know that I was not out there with them. I believe that if my mentor teacher were present on that day, he would have told me how it wasn't a big deal to not go out because in the grand scheme of things in regards to gun violence and school safety, it is sort of like a shot in the void. No one really looked down on me for not participating, but I definitely felt like I let myself down and what I believe in, because I had a chance to let my support be known, and choosing to do nothing made me feel like a hypocrite. Temporal sequential ordering, or keeping track of time, was occurring, and for how long the walkout was occurring, I had to be aware of it to make sure my plunge was well controlled. My plunge would have been impacted if I had called out that day due to an illness or an unforeseen circumstance, or if I had to delay my arrival to a time when I would have missed it entirely. Social cognition was the main active ingredient in this social experiment. The topic of gun control is very easy to mix up between politics and morality. If you say you like guns, you're labeled as hating kids. If you say there should be stricter gun laws, you are threatening other people's freedom to bear arms. As defined on allkindsofmind.org, social cognition is all about knowing what to talk about, when, with whom, and for how long in a cooperative manner with others. Schools are very cliquey, so if a protest occurs again in my career as an educator, my SocCog will no doubt be put to the test amongst my fellow coworkers. Plunging forced me to see what it was like to bite my tongue about a subject I will not shut up about to this day, until the day I feel moderately safe at my future job. It is the fact that I overlooked two aspects of the directions for this assignment wasn't enough evidence. What I learned from this plunge is I need to work on being more accepting of following the rules when I wish they could be more flexible. There have been and certainly will be more moments in my adult life where all the interpersonal skills in the world will do me less good than just nodding and smiling and doing what is expected of me. And I need to accept that as an okay thing. Lately, I've been put in positions where people could have benefited from my help, but they did not blatantly ask for it. I help any way that I can and make myself available and approachable, rather than making their problems my problems and slaying the dragons that are my family's and friends' problems. I believe this more laid-back approach has had a positive impact on everyone involved. In my future educational practices, I know that not every student, or coworker for that matter, will enjoy my usual personalities: energetic, optimistic, sarcastic, and opinionated. And that is just fine. Our learning of differentiation strategies is not meant just to apply to our students, but to anyone we meet, in or outside a classroom. It's the reason you should attempt to be kind to everyone you meet. You never know who is going to be in a position to help you out later on in life. So if being neutral will allow me to keep my job of teaching kids why it's important to not be neutral all the time, so be it.